The man, the myth, the legend is here with me. His name is David Markwell on the Southside Ride. He has been a sponsor since day one of the Yeah Come On Show podcast that you can get wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube, which is where we want you because we film it, right, Jeff?
We do. We are on video, just like we are now. We don't always do this, but we're going to work into some more video, some more social media clips. We want to go viral.
We want to go viral. So we're going to be putting this on our Fox FM Facebooks. You'll see it. You'll see it on my socials as well. And, of course, we're going to attach it to the Yeah Come On Show podcast, which is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of show business. But sometimes your mental issues could get in your way. Your relationships. I mean, look at Jeff. He's now screwed up a second marriage based on him chasing this crazy career. And she was saying, hey, show me the money. Why are you spending so much time with Steve? How much are you making? And it all came up to not much.
That's a piece of the equation. It's not the full equation, but I'm sure.
Also, Jeff is a horrible lover. He wasn't giving like he should.
It definitely wasn't that, but I'm sure Mr. Markwell could.
Jeff hated her dog. He kicked it. Did you kick the dog? I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I love the dog. I babysit the dog. You know, I still babysit my daughter.
We'll talk about it. David Markwell will know whether you are sound mind or not. He knows whether I am. Believe me, when somebody says I'm crazy, I'm like, oh, really? Why don't you call David Markwell? He knows. David Markwell is Markwell Therapy on, I guess, not Facebook, but .com. So Markwell being his last name, Markwell, therapy.com is where you go. You will see Ridgeline Counseling. That is the counseling locations that he owns. He has 2 in Marietta. 1, 2, and he has 1 in Blue Ridge. That's a virtual one. He's not going to talk to you face to face in Blue Ridge. But if you want to see David or any one of his 10 counselors, Ridgeline Counseling, and again, being a sponsor, you offered me something when I started to talk about marriage. I'm sitting there telling on air, look, guys, I'll shut it down when I meet the right one. Then I meet Amanda. I'm like, I'm shutting it down. I haven't kissed a girl since. I had to kick Nasty Cat out. I had to get rid of all these other flight attendants that were calling me. You know, all the people I used to hook up with. No, Miller girl, I can't see you anymore. I'm with Amanda. It took time. So David was smart. He knew that I had about 10 months before I was getting married. You called as a fan to the morning show, and basically you said, hey, I listen every day. How about some marriage counseling? And it was a great hook to get you on air. And ever since, you've worked with the regular guys, Bailey and Southside, Axel and Southside, and you've worked with me on Fox FM and on our podcast. And now we've had a relationship for about 12 years.
Right.
And, dude, you helped me immensely. And I'm going to turn it over to David now because he talks. But basically, I'm a lion and Amanda's an ox. I learned that just in couples counseling, but you do a lot of different types of counseling. And the reason I wanted to have you on, really for me, it's the mental issues out there. We see it every day in the news. We see people that just don't realize how damn crazy they are. And whether it's like 19 nose piercings or colored hair or, politically they're too conservative or too liberal or suicidal. And I just think there's some mental illness that exists now more than ever.
Yeah, there definitely has been an increase. And COVID played a huge role with that, but not just COVID. COVID amplified the anxiety among people because if you remember, that's only 5 years ago, we were closed in. We didn't have the ability to get out and socialize that much.
How much work did you do online then? I mean, I bet you were just living online, or were you seeing people?
So before COVID, I never did any virtual video counseling at all. You had the typical phone call, response to an email or whatever. But then COVID ushered in very quickly. So for about 3 to 6 months, it was a hybrid mix. I would still go in, we'd wear our masks, those types of things. And then we had some that didn't want to come in, so we did virtual. And then after that, if you remember, I got sick with COVID really bad for that period of time.
Dude, death's door over here. And so for some people that say COVID's no joke, there are people out there that say, oh, dude, I'd rather have the flu than COVID.
You say that.
I say it all the time. And I agree. I'm like, give me COVID. I've had it twice, and it was a walk in the park. But it depends. Everybody's body is different.
Yeah, right.
Everybody's different. And it almost wrecked you.
It did. I actually had it twice. The second time was almost like a walk in the park. But the first time, I was out of work for about 7 months with COVID, double pneumonia and things. Couldn't see any clients. I really kept thinking, I hope these clients hold on, and are patient. And I felt fortunate because I'd say about 80-90% of them did just wait for me, which I think meant a lot to me. And then I got back, and then I went virtual, and I've been primarily virtual since then.
Right. But you have 2 locations, and for those listening right now on 100.9 in Marietta, you're close to them. What are the 2 locations that you have for Ridgeline Counseling?
So we do offer in-person counseling as well. One of our offices is right off the Marietta Square, if you're familiar with the square.
Yes.
It's about a block from the square, a nice little office park there.
Oh, and that is a super nice area. I mean, get some counseling, go have some ice cream.
Exactly.
Or a cocktail.
Exactly. And then the other one is in the East Cobb area, across from Sprayberry High School, for people in Marietta, probably aware of where Sprayberry is at. And then the one in Blue Ridge is outside of Blue Ridge, about 8 miles in a little town called McKaysville.
Okay.
And it actually, what even brought me to McKaysville years ago was it reminded me of my hometown. We had about 900 people that I grew up with, and McKaysville has about 900 people. There was not a counseling place there. So I thought, what better place to pop up a little spot? And we have a couple therapists that work out of there, some that work out virtual. We pull clients from Tennessee, which is right across the line. They'll see us, and also North Carolina, because it's right there in that corner. So we're able to pull from 3 states in that particular area.
Well, now
people
you know
that gamble a little too much.
In Murphy,
I bet
he deals with gambling people.
I bet you do. Do you?
Yeah, we do.
Murphy is very close.
It's 40 minutes away.
Yeah, it's dangerously close to some of us.
I know some people just gamble too much. We now know where Ridgeline Counseling is with 3 locations, and you can go to Ridgeline Counseling on Facebook. Of course, MarkwellTherapy.com is also a way to get in touch with David Markwell. Again, 10 counselors working for him. I have done 18 sessions premarital counseling.
I have a quick question. When you do couples counseling, and whichever spouse brings the therapist in, like he brought you in, did that make Amanda defensive? Like, hey, he's more on your side, or you know what I'm saying? Like, whichever spouse knows the counselor first. Is there kind of a bias, or do you see bias?
That's actually a good question, because it depends on the individual, but a lot of times they do feel there's a bias, like, oh, you're going to choose Steve's side, or you're going to choose Amanda's side, or Jeff's side, or whatever. But a lot of times I think the integral part of it is the role that the therapist can play. If the therapist can actually emphasize that there's not going to be bias. And I think if you were to ask Amanda, I don't think she felt like I was choosing your side.
No, because he approached both of us. So he approached us at the same time. So my situation was different. He basically contacted me and goes, I understand you're getting married. If you're interested in marriage counseling.
But it was through the radio and through your kind of
your
world.
Yeah, so basically Amanda might have gone, okay, he's a fan of the show, a fan of yours. But, she was gloves off. We had some open discussions, and it helped us immensely. I think counseling does help. My concern in having David in here, and the cool thing is when you're in David's office, you got like that Pink Floyd kind of funky artwork that he has, and then you see diplomas, and you're like, okay, this is an educated man, soft-spoken, calm. I don't know. I've never seen David.
I feel very calming. Yeah, I can kind of feel that.
David can read to you and put you to sleep, but he also can drive a nail right through your soul, telling you, you need to do this, you need to do that. What you're seeing, and I've been in the lobby. I'm in the lobby, and I come out of I guess there's a crying room if you need it, but there's a regular room. I never cried. I went out the regular, but there was like a 12-year-old kid there, with his mom. And I was watching him, and I don't know what issues. It could be divorce. It could be whatever. But you see types of things. What do you primarily deal with? And I just want people to understand, obviously the suicide rate is higher, or maybe we just know about it. What are you seeing out there? Because I think us, not you, but I think mainly Jeff, your age group has raised some kids that are a little bit of Puss in Boots. And I think we're emotionally, it's not like the 70s where you grew up not wearing helmets, a car seat or not. We were a little rougher and tougher. I think the world's gotten softer, and I think a little more mental. Am I wrong?
Well,
is this a good time for your profession, or am I wrong?
Well, I don't think there's ever a bad time for the profession, in the sense that I think there's always a need for, and I feel fortunate that our profession is always there for people. But I will say this, you all may be aware of this, but brain development has changed over the years. If you go back, let's say 50 years ago, what's called executive functioning, which is right here in the front part of our brain. That's the part of our brain that has to do with impulse control, decision making. The whole idea is, should I say this or not say this? Should I do this, not do this, or whatever? Back 40, 50 years ago, if you look at an 18-year-old back then, they were doing very different things than an 18-year-old today.
Yeah, they could change a tire, for example.
They could change a tire. Many of them would, as soon as they graduated, they would either get married, get a job, go into the military, that type of thing. So what happened was the brain was matching that, if that makes sense, matching the challenge coming to it or whatever. So what's happened over a period of years and decades is now the most recent research shows that the frontal part, the executive functioning, finishes wiring around 25, 26 years of age. So that decision making and those types of things that years ago someone was making back at 17 and 18, they're not making those decisions till about 25 or 26.
So everything's getting kind of delayed.
Everything's getting delayed, and they're not quite sure. Some people believe that it has to do with some of the parenting techniques through the years.
Yeah. I make jokes. Obviously, I'm not qualified, and I like shock humor. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think that has a role. It's like we've lost our John Wayne mentality of like, oh, you don't know how to swim? I'm going to throw you in the pool, and you're gonna swim. And now we do lessons, and we put our faces in, and
There's less natural consequences. My thing was, well, if you don't want to wear a jacket, don't wear a jacket.
You're going to be cold.
Yeah, and then you can decide. Then you'll learn, oh, okay, I need a jacket. It not to be the mom hovering, you got to wear a jacket, That's just hot. Those kinds of things are what we do now.
Yeah, that's hot. If you touch it, you're going to burn your fingers. So touch it, and you won't do it again. Yeah. Whereas now they're like, I don't want my baby getting a scar. Oh my God, we have to have a gate to keep them away from the oven because they could, it's just.
So that I think has played a role with the parents.
Is that my phone? What a time, Jeff. Can you kill that, or is it yours? Good Lord, we got phones ringing. This is live radio. I don't even know where that's coming in at. Oh, it's under me. I got it. Boom. Good Lord. Look, this is what I'm tired of. You want to know why I need to talk to you? Robocalls. I don't know anybody in a 912 area code. Quit calling me.
Do they leave messages, by the way?
No. And when you pick up, there's that delay. Like, oh, God, somebody was dumb enough to pick up. Now I got to get my speech ready.
Right.
I hate it.
And by the way, what Jeff's talking about, the consequences, there are actually two types of consequences that they think have played a role. One's natural consequences, and one is logical consequences. So a natural consequence would be if you don't wear a coat outside and you get cold, that's a natural consequence, because you're cold now, you didn't wear a coat. A logical consequence is where it gets a little bit more tricky for parents, okay? You have two young ones, and so a lot of times the logical consequence are where the parents step in and there might not be a natural consequence that fits that situation, so you have to come up with one.
Right.
And it's not necessarily the same as a punishment. A punishment basically is just you did something and here's your punishment, okay? So like, I'll give a quick example. If someone is not doing their homework and you're like, okay, that's it, no dessert tonight. By definition, that's a punishment because the ice cream or whatever is not really connected to not doing their homework. But if you said, all right, you're not doing your homework, you don't get extra playing time on your system, a game system or whatever, because you need that time to study, that it would be considered a consequence.
That's better. I like that. I like that a lot. See, that makes sense. And those are the type of things, I think, just parents coming in, because you do family counseling as well. So it's even parents, if you're questioning whether you're doing the right thing, you can talk to someone. You don't have to raise kids the way your parents did or way your brother or sister's raising their kids. And if you think you're kind of messing up or making mistakes, then it's one of those things that, I think counseling is always a gift. My father believed in counseling. And he got kinder and nicer through counseling. He realized he had a temper. He realized that he was basically portraying his father, who had a vicious temper, and basically it made him kinder. And he learned more about himself. I think you can learn about yourself if you get out of your own way. And sometimes a third person helps with that. And also, there comes the issues with young people. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have one more break with David Markwell from Ridgeline Counseling. And that's what we want to talk about now. We'll go into what it's like with children and how you can help kids and who actually needs counseling and what can they help with. What are you dealing with at home that can keep you from having a divorce? you definitely needed counseling, Jeff.
I did it the first time. We went through lots, so I'm very schooled in the counseling thing.
Couldn't save
my
it.
first one, yeah. We went through several, and there was just some things that were an impasse is a word that I learned in therapy.
There was an impasse. Sometimes you look at them and go, you know what? You're better off without each other. But with your kids, they're your kids, and it's your job. There's a responsibility to making them good people and making the world better for those that are left here after we're gone.
Speaking of that, I cannot reveal names, of course.
Sure.
But I have a client right now that is that knows you very well.
Really?
And was sharing a lot of high school stories and things of Southside Steve. It was really interesting.
Wow.
So some of his therapy is talking about Southside Steve.
Oh, wow.
Did I hurt or help? Well, I don't know. Is it an ex-girlfriend? I don't know.
I'm sure whoever it is not the only one. There's probably several therapists that have heard the name Southside Steve over the years.
Yeah, I can tell you there's about 6 girls. One of my trainer for many years, he goes, you broke her. You broke her. He goes, dude, if you don't marry this girl, you're going to break her. And I'm like, didn't. But that's funny. But
he told me to tell you that he said, if you ever see, not to tell him his name, but he just said, tell Steve that I'm talking about him. So he knows a lot about just the young Southside Steve, not just the Southside Steve as an adult.
I was terribly kind. I was athletic, but I was skinny, and it cost me, boy, being really thin in 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. You get picked on by the bigger kids, but then there was an evening out, and then before it was over, I got what I think was the hottest girl in high school. Mm-hmm. But that was right at the end of my senior year. So, A to Z. But you know what? That's the challenges for everyone. Nobody, has it easy. Even people you see people with wealth, you're like, oh, they got it made. No, there's issues that come with everything. So I just wanted to speak to counseling in general, just letting people know, first off, if you're going through anything, this is a guy to talk to. My opinion, if my opinion matters. I was involved in counseling in the 6th and 7th grade. I went to a boarding school because of basically I was hyperactive attention deficit, and my parents did not want to give me a pill. Boy, had they given me one, I think I'd have been a rock star. They should have medicated me.
I don't know. I'd like to ask you.
You would say no.
I would like to ask you about that later. I mean, are we being overdiagnosed in the ADD, ADHD thing for kids these days compared to 40 years ago?
Well, that's a great question. The overdiagnosing is something that's always been a concern. The interesting thing about ADHD is that a lot of people think that it's a fairly new type of thing. Mm-hmm. It actually has been around since the early 1900s. But here's a little lesser known fact. When it was first talked about, it actually was referred to as minimal brain damage.
Damn. I knew
that's what it was called.
I'm damaged.
No, because what they thought is all these doctors had these little, most of them boys, that were running around and they couldn't remember things. They couldn't recall things. They
wouldn't concentrate. Couldn't read a page without going,
So they were thinking there must be some minimal brain damage there and so forth. And then they realized it's not minimal brain damage. It actually is, going back to executive functioning, that's the part of the brain that gets impacted by ADHD, is all that planning, scheduling, organization, those types of things, follow through.
It's always tough.
So with regard to overdiagnosing, the unfortunate part is there's no blood test to take to say you have ADHD.
You just have the symptoms, right?
Yeah, you have symptoms, and there are little checklists that where it gets a little tricky is that sometimes there are other things that can have the same looking symptoms. Like anxiety is very closely looked at, and that might be what the child is doing. They can't concentrate in class because they have high anxiety, when in fact that's the issue, not necessarily ADHD. But if you give like a teacher the check,
they check the boxes, and that becomes the diagnosis.
So,
because I had to sit behind the door in a team room. That is horrible. You put a kid behind the door, had that little door stopper, and there's like a little giant space behind there. They put a desk back there, and that's where I had to sit because I could not disturb others and be a disturbance. And that's what they did. Then they got really upset because once they finally looked behind the door, because I would just go behind it, they realized I'd put up posters and things. I was making it like a room, and then they got upset with me. So, but it never bothered me. I wasn't embarrassed by it. I just did it. But those type of issues with anyone, again, it's children, it's adults, It's young people. Counseling saved my father. I'll tell you right now, it made him such a nicer person. He was so good to grandkids versus us. And he apologized so many times about things he had done in the temper. He literally lost his temper, and it was so great to be around, because you just didn't worry about Dad going off.
Right.
Because he learned through counseling how, all right, here's what I do. I need to stop. I need to step away. I need to count to 10, whatever. He would just leave for a second and come back and be fine. But he went somewhere to decompress.
So he learned tools to maintain that.
What worked for him, and that's what counselors help you with. There is a time frame, too, and you talked about it. It's like 50 minutes is a session.
Right. A lot of people think of a counseling hour, it's 60 minutes, but it's 50 minutes. They allow that extra 5 or 10 minutes for notes and bathroom break or whatever it may be. But so when people come in, now, it can also be adjusted. If someone wants a 30-minute session, we definitely can adjust schedules for that as well. But the average counseling session is 50 minutes.
Yeah. And I don't know what you're dealing with. People just don't. I mean, there's people out there didn't know anybody was dealing with anything until they commit a horrific crime. I just go to the violence that I see. I go to, suicide. Why people that want to kill themselves feel like they have to go into a school and kill 20 kids, then themselves. I can't even comprehend. I hate reporting on it. I don't want to see a picture. It just breaks my heart. If anything happens to a child, it kills me.
Right.
Especially now that I've had kids. But I think there's so many people that are dealing with stuff that can help you at work. It can make you a better employee. It can make you a better business owner, a better person. And we just know that you might be dealing with something. And I just want to close with this. People out there that are worried about an employer finding out that they're getting counseling, and they're like, oh, God, what if my boss found out? And then now he thinks something's wrong with me. Nothing's wrong with you. You're making yourself a better person. But how can people, they can contact you to find out. There's ways of going about it where nobody has to know you're seeing a counselor, but it can still be taken care of by insurance or different programs.
Correct. So what people would need to know, they also could call our office and contact us, and we could help them.
That's what I would do. Contact the office and let them walk you through it if you're worried about anybody knowing. It's nobody's business. It's your business. If you want to talk about it, you talk about it. For some reason, people in alcohol awareness, AA or whatever, they want to tell people, hey, here's my chip. I'm not drinking. I'm going into my meetings. But sometimes with counselors, people don't want them to know.
Right. And the only time that a supervisor or a boss would know is what's called a management referral. And that's someone that management has realized they have to go because otherwise they're going to lose their job. So the management refers them. So yes, in that case, which is rare. The others, no one knows. The employer doesn't know. HR doesn't even know if they've even made the call. They just get a number and that's it. And it's very private and things.
And can help.
I'm sure some companies these days probably encourage it. So some they probably would like to see. Oh yeah, good. They're taking care of themselves. They're going to be better employees.
Right. So that a lot of companies have picked up that as a benefit, a perk, and a lot of people aren't even aware of it.
Yeah.
We tell people when they first call in, when they say we'd like to use insurance, we'll say, do you have EAP benefits? That's what they're called, employees assistance benefits. The reason for that is it saves them money. They don't have any copay, deductible, or anything else. And they usually get about 8 sessions for free.
Wow. So why not? So here's how you contact David Markwell.
You can contact us at markwelltherapy.com or ridgelinecounseling@gmail.com if you want to email me directly. And the office number is 770-993-9700.
Boom. And there it is. I want to thank you for coming in. And for a guy that has been the counselor for radio, you were there when we did Fun Marriages. You were there when we did the first lesbian wedding and the weddings with Bailey and Southside and the regular guys my entire career. And he helped me before getting married. And like I said, you'll hear me mention him every time we do a Yeah Come On Show podcast. I just want to say thank you. And can I get a Yeah Come On?
Yeah, come on.